Hey my friends, it's your boy Banner and welcome to another episode of Try Bonsai. Today is Tuesday the 29th of July. The year is moving swiftly along, my friends. And what I'm going to tackle today is this African styled water jasmine or Rhyta religiosa tree. It has been in this growing pot for quite some time since I got it, and it is time to start it on its journey into a training bonsai pot. Yeah? So, on that note, let me just go. So, just to give you a little backstory on this, this was a branch that was cut from a much bigger tree. And as I said, it wasn't earlier it was cut because, and sorry, not because, and I got several branches to try to see if I could propagate them in water. And what happened successfully, this was propagated in water along with a couple others that I gave away. But this fellow that was propagated in water was very, very, very straight. And I used a bit of wire to give it a little bit of a bend. Now, the trunk is thick, so it was not the easiest thing to bend at all, but it got a little bit of bend, a little bend on it, and I'm working with it so far. So that is where this came from. This was propagated in water. This was a cutting that was propagated in water. And for those who didn't know, Rhyta religiosa water jasmine can be propagated in water. So there. So now what I want to do is to get this out of this pot. Take a look at the roots, trying to create that radial root spread, and then put it into a shallower pot. Now, Olia, I gave all my trees some water this morning, so the soil kind of wet. But this has been pruned recently in my last video or second to last video. I can't remember which one, but it was pruned recently. So, without skipping too much beats, let's get to this. So I put it in my safe container to try to avoid making too much of a mess. And I want to try to see if I could get this out as whole as possible and as safely as possible. So here it is, out of its container. So we're going to scrape out, rake out the roots, trying to untangle whatever tangled roots there are. And when I come back, we're going to look at the root system. Yeah? All right, so that is the action. All right, so I took the opportunity to wash the roots off to get a better view on what is happening here. And we have quite a mass of roots. As you can see, we have some big guys that are going to want to remove because this is not pointing in a nice direction, which is not at a 90-degree angle, but it is pointing a little too straight down. Then I have some guys that are pointing up in the air that are going to remove. So I am going to go around the tree as I pull out my tools. I'm going to go around the tree and I'm going to start removing items that are unwanted. Right now, I'm not going to need all of these long bits, all of these long roots. If I were going to put this over a rock, then that would have been ideal. But I'm not going to put this over a rock. Nah, I will save. I want to have a styrax, a water jasmine over a rock, to be honest. But I have to get one especially for that, you know. So I just cutting away all the long bits that I know I'm not going to use. And then I'm going to go in and do a more detailed root pruning. So guys that hit the pot and turn like this are going to remove. Look, another one here. Right? Guys that are sticking up, they will be removed, right, in favor of somebody who is flowing nicely down. This guy is coming up, so he will be removed. And as I try not to block the camera too much, yeah, and all of the roots that are sticking straight down, that makes it stand in the pot, because I want to create a root spread like this. So that is what I'm aiming for. So I'm going to go around looking at guys that are not going in good directions and prune them away. Also trying to establish where the root plane is. And the root plane is where the roots ideally start from and start flaring out. So you have roots starting from here, but on this side you have roots starting higher up. So I would want to remove, look at what is a good root plane. Now granted, this root plane got like this because the tree was sitting like this. So it can't be like this, so it's like this. But this root, my friends, is way too big. So I'm going to prune it back at first, taking out quite a number of roots. And I think I should take it off. Yeah, I think I should take it off. Now there's a small root coming out from it here. Yeah. So I'm going to take this, and this takes off some folks. And I want to get under here to all the guys that are pointing straight down, because I want to create a flat root base. And I have to be careful that I don't prune away things that I want. So as I'm under it, I'm looking at what I can take away, what makes sense, and what could remain. Using my tray as the measuring stick for a flat base. Okay, my friends, so Rome was not built in a day, and I think I would have gone far enough with this root work as I should. So this is what the root system looks like. I think this is a good enough body of work that it could catch on and go on thriving. You know, what I would have done, as you would have seen in the video, defoliated and pruned And this is fresh growth that is coming out here. So I'm taking the opportunity now to repot this. And I have a root here. Nice root. Going in a off-key kind of space. But as I said, Rome wasn't built in a day, and building that nice radial root spread is not going to happen immediately. This is going to take a few runs well of me interfering with these roots. So now that that is done, this is the orientation of the tree. Let me get the specimen pots and let's see which pot is best suited for this. So working quickly enough that the tree does not dry out, I have this plastic pot and it fits nicely into this pot. Let me see, it's an oval pot. But I think the top might be, I'm not sure if the top is too big for it. And then I have this square pot, which has more room and a little bit more depth to it. I wonder if I'm leaning to, am I leaning to this? Or am I leaning towards this guy? Oh my. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Taking long to make a decision here. I think I'm going to go with the bigger pot. Is this too much pot? Might be. Is this too much or this too little? I'm going to go with the bigger pot. So this is what I'm going to go with, my friends, for this. But I'm going to go with this one. Why? Because of the curves on this pot. It looks nicer with the curves on the tree itself. It might be a little too small. Let me see if I have something a bit wider. All right, so I've checked and I don't have anything else that suits this particular tree. So I'm going to put it into this pot and I'm going to bring it forward just a bit so that it sits nicely, I think, because I can't push it back. Although I can. And let it fall over into the pot. Which way? Yeah, this looks a bit better. A little bit off center. So, with that, I am going to get some soil into this pot and let's get to potting this up. Yeah. Right. So, this is the orientation that I'm going with. Right? Let me know what you think about the pot choice in the comments. What you think about the overall planting of it. And now we're gonna fill this up with some soil. So as you would have seen, I did quite a bit of root pruning, getting rid of some really long, thick roots and trying to create that even radial root spread for an even distribution of energy up to the tree so that I could eventually create an even tree up on top. So now just using the chopstick to make sure that I get all the soil between the roots and remove all air pockets, because air pockets are not good. Air pockets are bad. I'm looking at it now and yes, it is off center, but I think it could come a little bit further in on the pot. So as I turn it to face you, it's a little bit too much off the pot this way. I need it to come a little further in. So going to disturb. But it's a bit better. It is better. It is better. So I'm going to give this a good watering and leave this in our corner to recover. So let me stabilize this thing first. I need to get a stone, you know how to use the rocks to stabilize my trees. So let me get a rock, and when we come back, I'm going to give you a 360 view, and that is it for today. All right, so I took the opportunity to give it a good soaking, and I mounted up the dirt a little bit more just to ensure that it has full coverage. Let me give you a 360 view of it. So this is not the front, I think this is the back. Actually, I have to identify a front for this, yes? Is this a better front? Possibly. But I'm coming around. And we are coming back to where we started. So let me bring you in closer to show you what's happening. So this is the base of it. And it has a little bit of a shari going up because I cut something up here. And when I peel the whole thing stripped all the way down. So I say, hey, wherever yes, looking decent. And this is it coming up into the canopy here. And to create this, I used wire. So this has some wire work that has gone into it. And there is something that I need to address eventually. And that is, there's a slight bit of swelling around this point here. Maybe it may grow out, but I'll keep monitoring it to see what is happening. But my friends, this is it for this tree. It is planted into this spot and it's looking decent. But I feel it might have looked better with a bigger pot that could cover the entire canopy, but I don't have a pot that size. So that is something to work on in the future. Getting a pot for this that will suit this perfectly. Yeah? Anyways, my friends, thank you so very, very much for joining me here on Try Bonsai. You know the usual, the likes help. It allows for my channel to reach more and more people out there. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share with people who you know will benefit from the work that I do. And drop those comments. I like reading those comments. I like responding to those comments. Drop those comments. Let me know what you think about this particular body of work. And yeah, let me know what you think. And let us have a conversation. Yeah. And on that note, as I usually say as well, be good to yourself. Be good to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. And remember that our planet, our climate is our responsibility. We have an opportunity to change it for the better. If not for ourselves, let's do it for the future generations. So on that note, my friends, I will see you all soon. Take care. Bye.